It is the world famous KROQ. I am Nicole Alvarez. We are live backstage with Tim from Rise Against.
Hey.
Hi. He's Tim is one of my favorite people on planet Earth because you see how like polite and unassuming he is. Then you get on stage and what the hell happens up there? I
think that if the world was allowed to do what I do for an hour every night, everybody would be a chill person.
And you've already been on stage tonight.
Yeah, I went out there with Face to Face.
Was that planned?
Yeah, it was actually. We did a split 7-inch together where they covered one of our songs and we covered one of their songs, and so I went up there tonight to sing the song that we covered, a song called Blind. So Face to Face are a band that I grew up listening to. I was at their shows when I was 15 years old, front row, sing along every word.
Isn't that cool how it comes full circle?
It's so amazing. It's so amazing, you know, not just to be on stage with them, but then also if people check out the song, they've covered one of our songs. So it's like to hear Trevor singing, you know, my lyrics or one of our songs, you know.
Is it humbling?
It's overwhelming is what it is. It's just like, it's one of those things you can't wrap your head around, you know. And we've had a really cool year with like bands like Face to Face or, you know, Bad Religion, who are on stage right now.
Yeah, we're killing it.
Yeah, we just took them out on tour for about 4 weeks across the states, and that was every night, you know, to be saying thank you to Bad Religion who just played. You know, that was like, I never thought those words would be coming out of my mouth. You know, they're a band that paved the way for bands like us to exist. Yeah.
You guys undeniably have such a strong sense of character based on principle, and you have a message. It's just not music just to throw out music, but we work in this business of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and you guys are straight edge, and you know you have something to say. Did you ever feel like an outcast amongst your peers, the ones that were maybe a little rowdier?
Yeah, I guess is the simple answer. You know, I think that punk and hardcore and that kind of stuff, there are many different factions of it, and I never really felt any affinity towards like the nihilistic parts of punk. You know, I loved Minor Threat more than I loved the Sex Pistols, you know, and that kind of thing. And not that I think there's anything wrong with the drugs, sex, and rock and roll part of the lifestyle, but for me, it was a different thing that brought me into music, and it was watching music become a potential
platform
and a vehicle for things like change and awareness. And those were the things that triggered my interest, not watching like a Guns N' Roses video and wanting to be Axl Rose. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing didn't appeal to me. But when I saw that music, when music touched my life, and I saw that it could touch other people's lives, that's when it became really interesting to me and something that I wanted to pursue.
What was the first thing that you remember being so affected by or disgusted by, like an unfairness in the world that made you want to turn that into music? Like, what was the first thing, like maybe as a little kid, you were like, why, that's not fair, why is that happening in this world?
I think that's partly music, but also part of literature that I started reading as a young kid. Books like 1984 or Brave New World, stuff like that, where you're just like, you're reading this like crazy sci-fi novel as like a crazy sci-fi novel, and then as you like get through it and start looking out at your world through a different filter, you realize that those books weren't entirely made to be fictitious sci-fi novels, but they were made to be a comment on society and the direction it's going in. And that blew my mind, you know, to see that kind of thing. That sort of illuminated different parts of the world that sort of lurked in the shadows before that, you know. And that was what sort of almost like a secondary education, you know. It's
amazing because you guys, your voice is getting louder and louder. You've managed to maintain your core fans and gain all these new ones. Does that ever blow you away?
It's really cool. I think that when people ask me like about Rise Against and they want to know like, oh, what have you done to be where you are today? Because, you know, I remember playing Weenie Roast, you know, 5 years ago.
You guys are family, like it's OG around here.
And like, it's so funny because, you know, I remember playing, we were one of the first bands, Suns in Our Eyes, and people are pretty much flicking us off the whole time, like just could care less. And so it's been a long climb to be playing, you know, second to last tonight. And when people ask me, how did you get there? It's really interesting. It sounds like a failed business model, but we've said no to more things than we've said yes to in our career. And that's sort of, well, that's been something that has protected us from and sort of insulated us from like the industry that could be out to exploit you, you know. And it's the things that we've said no to that have defined our band more than the things we've said yes to.
Now, the stuff that you write about is subject to a lot of opinion, a lot of strong opinion. So how do you guys, as a band, how do you manage to stay on the same page without your opinions clashing? Because I can't imagine that you all agree on everything. But you have this common message that you rock out on all your songs and all your albums constantly.
I was talking to the guys about this while we were doing this last record because, you know, I'm just as a lyricist, I'm just forging ahead with some of these things, and then I have to stop sometimes and be like, hey, are you guys cool with this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just wrote a song about, you know, homophobia, or I just wrote a song about sweatshops. Like, are you guys like,
are you okay with this?
You know, and like, we've been on the same page for just about everything. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
And it's really cool. And I wouldn't put things in the songs that I knew we were on different pages about. You know what I mean? But for the most part, we're on the same page, and we're on the same page with bands like Bad Religion or like the rest of the bands in the punk world.
Not a bad band to be on the same page with.
Exactly. I think that a lot of stuff, we may get pegged as a controversial or radical band sometimes, but like sometimes we're just singing the things that you're thinking anyway, and I don't think anything we do is that radical as much as it is just common sense that you don't hear about, you don't hear from rock musicians.
So what's your proudest moment on Endgame?
Proudest moment on Endgame?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm
sure it changes all the time, but right now, like tonight when you go on stage, which is just in a little while, what's the song that's going to give you the chills when you sing and when you see the crowd singing back to you?
Right, that one's easy. It's Make It Stop, September's Children.
Yeah, that one's pretty powerful.
That one is, and like it's sort of, you know, that was another song that I just kind of forged into almost blind. I just felt compelled to write this song, and only in its completion did it hit me emotionally. You know what I mean? And even you know, I'm saying some of the names of the kids who killed themselves in the month of September, and it was an idea that I came up with, and I was sort of like so wrapped up in the creation of the song. I was like, yeah, we should do that. It'll be great. Ready, hit record. And then I started saying the names. I'm like choking up, like, oh my God, like it didn't hit me like how heavy it would be. You know, I was kind of like in like work mode. And since that song has come out, we've gotten a flood of emails from people who are just saying, thank you for writing that song. You know, it defines what I am.
And that becomes a driving force.
It does, yeah. And to see it touch people the way it has touched people, and to be sort of a call to action to stand up against homophobia, to stand up against bullying, to stand up for people who are harassed or tormented in their own social cliques, you know, or even at shows like tonight. You know, I think it was a statement that I think other bands have said or people have said, but sometimes it'll reach our audience in a different way than it could otherwise.
Okay, we're gonna leave it off with me congratulating you because you're having what I like to call one hell of a summer. So you're playing Sold Out Weenie Roast, your family around here. Then you're playing LA Rising with Muse and Rage Against the Machine, and I can't even wrap my head around that.
Neither can I.
But wait, it's not over. Then you're going on tour with the freaking Foo Fighters.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so best summer ever, maybe?
Best summer ever, yeah.
And you totally deserve it. Tim from Rise Against, you guys, thank you so much for being who you are and for being part of the KROQ family.
Thank you guys.
We appreciate it. We are live backstage at the Weenie Roast. It is the world famous KROQ.